As Nordic dark folk is still in its infancy with high listener demand and not enough bands to offer new music at the rate that listeners want new music, the scene runs the risk of being oversaturated with a lot of musicians who, while talented, don't quite think past the whole, oh, all I need is a drum and a tagelharpa part of making Nordic dark folk music. While this can lead to frustrated listeners combing through shelves upon shelves of monotonous EPs and singles, it does offer a chance for those really talented groups who get it to set themselves apart from the noise. With their debut album Ondt Blot, Budapest trio Aftenstorm shows us an immense amount of potential for such a breakthrough. Let's dive in. Before we get started here, as always, if you're enjoying the channel's content, be sure to like, subscribe, go check out the Patreon, all that good stuff. It really helps grow the show and support the work that I do here. Now, 3 things that immediately strike me about this EP, Ondt Blot from Aftenstorm, and keeps me coming back. First, the dynamic tagelharpa playing. 2, a lead singer with a tenor voice that we don't nearly have enough of in this scene. And 3, the orchestration. Orchestration refers to the way that a songwriter assigns what instrument plays what part of the actual written music, how many different instruments play certain parts, etc. For instance, John Williams might write the music for Star Wars, but his lesser-known orchestrator Herbert Spencer is the one that actually takes that music from written at the piano and assigns each of those notes and parts and sections to the different instruments. It has a pretty big effect on the music. I mean, imagine if the Imperial March was played only by, I don't know, timpani and flute. It'd be a little bit of a different experience. And the importance of good orchestration can't be understated because it's this part of the process that really brings the music to life and where it really defines the music's personality, because the texture, the voice, and the timbre of all the different instruments is really what brings the music to life from being written at the keyboard. However, this is also where the most mistakes can happen, because especially with the modern studio, there's really no limit as to what can be added, what can be built upon, etc. Any musician can make their orchestration as simple or as complex and dense as they want it to be, with a good many talented musicians falling for the typical trap that more is better. Fortunately, Aftenstorm takes the less is more approach, which, at least in my opinion, is the better approach to orchestration, especially in this music style. And the orchestration of these tracks is as simple as it needs to be to tell the story with just enough to keep the listening experience feeling full and deep without oversaturating the band's excellent songwriting. The voice, the drums, and the tagelharpa are all written and played well enough together to create a coherent and cohesive sound palette that I feel any more layers of instrumentation would probably just get in the way of what they're trying to portray with their songwriting. Back to my first point, though, this album has some of the most interesting and dynamic tagelharpa playing that I've heard on a dark folk album. While traditional tagelharpa playing is usually pretty dynamic, in dark folk, musicians tend to take a lot of inspiration from Einar Selvik or Espen Winter's more mournful drone approach to playing the instrument. With absolutely nothing wrong with this style of playing, it's refreshing to hear a skilled tagelharpa player incorporate more traditional tagelharpa playing into this music scene. And it really does a lot of the heavy lifting with the EP's songwriting and really adds to Aftenstorm's unique personality. Now, the second track, Mit Indre Tocht, perhaps best showcases the strength of Aftenstorm's tagelharpa playing. Now, back to my last standing point, I really love the voice on this EP. The dark folk genre does not have enough non-baritone male voices. Yes, we have plenty of baritone singers who do reach up into the high register. Einar Selvik is a great example of this, but we don't have a lot of singers that just are tenors. And that sort of variation, I think, is important to the growth of a music scene. If we get too used to the same type of sound over and over again, that's when things can really start to stagnate. And Aftenstorm singer's tenor really does a great job in creating this haunting, sort of looming spirit that sort of just hangs over the music throughout the album. It's actually pretty neat. And while there's also throat singing on the 4th track, Ondt Blot, there wouldn't really be a dark folk album if there wasn't at least some throat singing. This track also has some of my favorite harmonies that support this clean singing style beautifully. With their debut EP Ondt Blot, Aftenstorm shows us a bright future for dark folk. While the beloved tropes of the genre can get in the way of new acts setting themselves apart as individuals, Aftenstorm shows us that it's possible to be stylistically defined without being derivative of the musicians who came before them. Moreover, Aftenstorm shows us the power of having a tight-knit group of talented musicians and how much an EP can break through the noise with solid musicianship alone. Seriously, the tagelharpa work on this album is to die for. Check it out. And so friends, that wraps up my review of Aftenstorm's Ondt Blot. Go follow them on social media, check out their EP on Bandcamp, show them some support as we always should with new up-and-coming musicians. They really need it. You can also support me by liking or sharing the video and checking out the Patreon linked in the description to keep the lights on. So guys, have a great day, and I look forward to seeing you next time on the Nordic Sound channel.